Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Gut Balance Revolution. Boost your metabolism, restore your inner ecology, and lose the weight for good. By Gerard E. Mullin, MD. Narrated by Mike Chamberlain. Publisher's note. This audiobook is packaged with bonus material, which has been included on the first audio and MP3 CD. If you downloaded this audiobook in a digital format, please visit Tantor.com and type The Gut Balance Revolution into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page, then click on PDF Extra 1. When prompted, enter the access code REVOLUTION to access the bonus material. Introduction. It's not your fault. The year was 1977. A 17-year-old high school student and his mother walked into a new doctor's office for the first time looking for answers to a recent and inexplicable sore throat, loss of appetite, fatigue, and fever. The esteemed doctor was referred by a leading physician in their small community of Wayne, New Jersey. The physician was fresh out of training in endocrinology and metabolism and was beginning his practice in the region's top multi-specialty group. When the doctor walked into the room wearing his white coat, he gazed up and down at the boy, shot him a dismissive frown, then looked over at the boy's mother with disapproval in his eyes. In the few minutes allocated for the visit, the doctor stated he was certain that this young man had mononucleosis and ordered confirmatory blood tests. As he was leaving the room, the boy's mother asked, "Doctor, he has a difficult time eating. Do you have any suggestions?" The physician turned around with an angry scowl and sharply rebutted, "Ma'am, if he didn't eat for a week, it wouldn't hurt him. Given his size, it may make a healthy dent." With that, he stormed out of the room. The chill that followed was like a blast of Arctic air. The boy and his mother were momentarily frozen by the doctor's painful words. This young man was 293 pounds the day he visited that doctor, and his shame about his weight was immense. If you haven't guessed by now, the young man in that doctor's office was me. Unfortunately, that doctor was more interested in assigning blame than he was in offering solutions. We now know that this type of stigmatizing and shaming approach toward overweight people is counterproductive and can actually cause weight gain. In fact, blame, shame, and lack of support are feeding directly into the obesity epidemic. But after all these years, I now realize that doctor did me a favor. He gave me an example of what not to aspire to as a physician. Doctors are healers who are bound by the Hippocratic Oath to provide empathetic care to those in need. That man broke the spirit of his oath. Though disappointed and hurt by my first encounter with this physician, I went back for another visit to be cleared for return to school following my bout of mononucleosis. The illness had been more severe than usual, and I had lost 12 pounds in only a few weeks. When I walked into the office, the doctor remarked, "I'm glad that the illness was therapeutic," and smiled. As he looked over my chart, he noted that my high school football team was ranked as number 1 in the state, and asked me what I was studying at DePaul High School. "I'd like to be a doctor," I replied. That's when he dealt the final blow. He chuckled, looked me up and down once again, and said, "Not looking like this, you won't." Our relationship ended. Despite the doctor's rudeness, he communicated an important and sobering message to me. Physician, heal thyself. If I wanted to be a doctor, I should first look at my own body and take care of it. Back then, the prevalence of obesity was low, and most doctors were thin. So a morbidly obese person aspiring to be a doctor was being unrealistic. I needed to lose the weight if I wanted to be a physician. That's when my own weight loss journey began. How I almost didn't become a doctor. Shortly after my visit to that physician, I graduated from high school and entered college. I was morbidly obese, and it quickly became plain that I wasn't living up to my potential academically. I was strongly advised by the head of the university's pre-professional committee to consider another profession, such as podiatrist or physician assistant, since I wouldn't be recommended for medical school. That's when I hit rock bottom. My life's dream had been to become a doctor, and it looked like I wouldn't achieve it. That Christmas, I spent some time at my brother Tim's house. The movie Rocky was on television. That's when I had my aha moment. All I had to do was figure out what steps I needed to take to make it happen, as Rocky did in the movie. I had a vision of myself as an empathetic doctor who would help others who struggled to lose weight. But I knew that first I had to find my own path to health. I found my inspiration and my focus. I spent hours in the library researching diet programs and the effects of different foods on human metabolism. I tested several diets and failed at many, but I was committed to succeeding. I knew that if I searched hard enough, I could find an answer to my weight problem. At the checkout counter of my local grocery store, I came across a book about the health benefits of fiber. I purchased it and read it over winter break. The author explained why fiber was important for maintaining a healthy weight, and it dawned on me that my own diet had always been fiber poor. I realized that the diets I'd attempted, like the grapefruit diet, popular in the late 1970s, were futile because they contained little or none of this critical substance. So I decided to create my own diet plan, one that was rich with fiber. One of my staples was oat bran to bolster my fiber intake with plain low-fat yogurt, sweetened with a pinch of molasses, pure maple syrup, or raw honey. I also began to switch my protein sources to mainly seafood and away from red meat. I used olive oil and nuts as my principal sources of fat. I went for long walks across campus or rode a bicycle during study breaks for exercise. In no time, I was dropping weight and feeling fantastic. My energy skyrocketed, and so did my mental clarity. After losing my first 50 pounds, I began running and lifting weights and engaging in a number of athletic activities with my brothers Patrick and Tim, along with my friend Chris Houlihan. It was like Rocky come to life. By the end of 1979, I got down to 175 pounds, a result that rivals gastric bypass surgery. My aptitude and scholastic performance dramatically improved. A year later, I was accepted into medical school. Today, I'm an academic gastroenterologist among the elite group of doctors at one of the leading hospitals in the nation. I'm not sure I could have achieved all this had I not been able to drop the weight and persevere. But how did I make the change when so many others can't? Why did the diet plan I developed on my own actually work? 20/20 hindsight. I now realized that I'd developed a way of eating that restricted foods that promote inflammation and spike blood sugar and fat-forming insulin. I was also supporting the growth of friendly bacteria in my gut with prebiotic fiber-rich foods and live yogurt cultures. As you'll learn in this book, this may be the key reason the diet worked. We know today that the trillions of bacteria housed in our digestive tract have a significant influence on our ability to gain or lose weight. I'll explain more about this in a moment. First, I want to share another key discovery I made during this time. I realized that it wasn't my fault that I was so large. I hadn't been eating lots of junk food. I was just unknowingly eating the wrong foods that were promoting inflammation, reducing the diversity of microbes in my gut, and leading to fat accumulation. If you're overweight, it's likely not your fault either. Nobody wants to be overweight, but it happens to many despite their best intentions. We live in a world where obesity is a global epidemic, and it didn't come about because people are lazy or stupid. Something else is at work. At one time, just getting enough to eat was the most basic problem of survival. Now we face the opposite problem. 70% of Americans are overweight, and 36% are obese. Globally, 1.5 billion are overweight, and 500 million are obese. Today, 1/3 of all women and 1/4 of all men in America are on a diet. In the United States alone, more than $60 billion is spent on weight loss products per year. Studies estimate that up to 2/3 of those dieting will gain back more weight than they lost when they stop their diet programs. You've probably seen popular celebrities and even former contestants from The Biggest Loser regain weight months after successful dieting. In fact, most Americans can only sustain a behavioral modification diet lifestyle program for 3 to 6 months before falling off and rebounding. And amazingly, 1/3 of those who undergo gastric bypass obesity surgery regain the weight because the underlying problem was not fixed. Obesity has crippling effects on health and well-being, shortens life expectancy, hinders quality of life, and adversely impacts the economy. Treating obesity and obesity-related conditions costs billions of dollars a year. By one estimate, the United States spent $190 billion on obesity-related healthcare expenses in 2005, double previous estimates. Looking ahead, researchers have estimated that by 2030, if obesity trends continue unchecked, 50% of America will be obese, and obesity-related medical costs alone could rise to $66 billion a year. Obesity is a major driver of Medicare costs and contributes to our growing federal debt. How did this happen? I blame the food industry's promotion of processed food-like substances that I call ingestibles and rich pro-inflammatory and disease-promoting crops that become affordable junk food. We rely on a food industry to promote our health, while our healthcare industry fails to promote the role of sound nutrition in healthy living and disease prevention. The food industry does an excellent job of designing and selling tasty and addictive products that make consumers continuously buy and eat more than what they need. Big Food knows all too well how to make its products appealing, tasty, irresistible, and cheap, so that people keep coming back for more, despite the consequences. Americans now consume 150 pounds of sugar sweeteners, cane and beet sugar and corn sweeteners, a year, about 22 teaspoons daily, and the food industry is partially to blame. Historically, our sustenance came from foods high in nutrition and low in calories, but the products designed by food conglomerates today are low in nutrition and high in calories. Most Americans are overfed, yet nutritionally starving. As government continues to subsidize the food industry's mass production of fast food staples such as wheat, dairy, and soy over real food, we're likely to see these trends continue. But we cannot put all the blame on the food industry and the government subsidies it receives. The behavior, mindset, and lifestyle of the present generation are a vital part of the dynamics of obesity and weight-related illness. We need to look at the greater ecosystem of biological, microbiological, sociological, and psychological influences that lead to weight gain to find a solution to this problem. They teach us in medical school, in the few hours devoted to the subject, that weight gain and weight loss are merely a reflection of total caloric consumption, metabolism, and nothing else. But this concept doesn't explain why people can't drop weight despite eating less food. Why are so many people gaining weight? And what can we do to help them lose it? That's what this book is about. The real reason for the obesity epidemic. The truth is that you gain or lose weight for multiple reasons. We now know that glycemic control, insulin spikes, inflammation, and even hormones that regulate metabolism are all factors that determine your weight. Obesity is a complex disorder resulting from a combination of genetic, behavioral, lifestyle, and psychological factors that influence food choices and activity. Sure, overconsumption of calories may be part of the reason people gain weight. But why are these folks over-consuming food in the first place? There are many reasons. If you trace only one possible biochemical chain of causality, you get something like this. Overeating stems from imbalances in the network of brain biochemicals called neurotransmitters, like dopamine, along with gut-derived hormones that regulate satiety and short-term appetite, like ghrelin, and control our urge to eat. As we overconsume calories and become inactive, our fat cells continue to grow and become insensitive to insulin. This results in diabetes, atherosclerosis, cardiovascular disease, and a number of other complications. But there are many other ways to gain weight. Science is now showing us that obesity can result from a number of imbalances in the body, from inflammation to endocrine and metabolic dysregulation. The story of weight loss is much more nuanced than most of modern medicine would have us believe. Fascinating new research points to yet another contributing factor I've long known played a role in the weight loss drama: the gut microbiome, the ecosystem of flora in your intestines. Research is showing that it's the balance and diversity of these microbiota in your gut that may ultimately determine the fate of your weight. In retrospect, this is the precise reason I was able to drop the weight that had plagued me for so many years. I rebalanced the flora in my gut. In 1979, I was ahead of my time in forming my own blueprint for weight loss success. Impressed with my results, friends and family started asking for dietary advice. Although only a junior in college, I was counseling people about diet and weight loss, and I've done so ever since. Even then, I found that my approach allowed people to eat more, weigh less, and feel more vibrant. Over the years, I've refined this plan based on my education and experience as a doctor. But you'd be surprised how much of my approach is the same as it was in the 70s. Why? Because the diet I developed happened to focus on improving gut microbial balance and diversity. My original vision of becoming a doctor was to help others lose weight once I found a system that worked. What I didn't know was that my mission to help people would come to fruition through serendipity. My accidental discovery has now been borne out by two new major areas of research that have revolutionized our understanding of why people gain weight. Both point to a disordered digestive tract as playing a central role. First, the human gut microbiota have been found to play a pivotal role in weight maintenance because of their influence on food metabolism, appetite regulation, energy expenditure, endocrine regulation, gut barrier integrity, inflammation, and insulin resistance. Distortions in the composition of normal, healthy intestinal flora have been found to contribute to obesity. Second, weight gain has recently been linked to chronic low-grade systemic inflammation in the gut that results from the seepage of gut-derived bacterial toxins through a porous intestinal lining into the bloodstream. This further drives problems with insulin resistance and fat accumulation. When people address these two core systemic processes by focusing on rebalancing the flora in their gut, the results are often miraculous. I've witnessed the turnaround of patients who have followed the same program you'll learn in this book. I've observed many patients in my clinic lose as much as 10 to 15 pounds every 4 weeks. They were able to burn fat and keep it off for the long term. They were succeeding on my plan even though other diet programs had previously failed them. With my plan, their weight loss has been seamless and sustained, and miraculously, many of their chronic digestive symptoms disappeared as well. One unforgettable case. A woman named Rose came to see me after being treated by several other doctors for troubling gas and bloating. Despite her search, Rose couldn't find relief and was eventually diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Although she starved herself, Rose gained weight, and no doctor could find a metabolic cause. I suspected that Rose's gas, bloating, and abdominal discomfort after meals were due to the rapid fermentation of foods by an overgrowth of bacteria in her small bowel. This condition is called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO. My suspicion was confirmed by lactulose hydrogen breath testing. I placed Rose on the gut balance revolution and treated her with antimicrobial herbs to help kill off the overgrowth of gut bugs in her small bowel. 6 weeks after her initial visit, Rose came in for her follow-up. Repeat lactulose hydrogen breath testing showed the SIBO was gone, and Rose no longer had gas, bloating, or abdominal discomfort. Plus, she was proud of her new figure. She'd lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks, though she'd never dropped a single pound on one of her many previous diets. Why did Rose lose weight on this program when so many others had failed? Gut bugs. That's right, gut bugs. Around the same time I treated Rose, the science behind the role of gut microbes in weight gain, obesity, and diabetes had begun to explode. Research showed that lean mice can be made overweight by simply transferring gut microbes from obese mice. Likewise, the transfer of gut microbes from lean mice into obese mice improves diabetes. In this book, I'll tell you more about exactly how a healthy balance of gut flora holds the key to maintaining a healthy weight. I'll also outline a complete program that will allow you to overcome your struggle with sustained weight loss. When you follow the plan, you'll likely find that you not only lose weight, but also feel energized and vibrant, and many of your chronic health complaints may simply disappear. Diet plays a special role in fostering the growth of microbes that favor obesity or feed bacteria that promote a lean metabolism. By tilling the soil of your gut microbiome, reseeding your gut with good fat-burning bacteria, fertilizing these friendly flora with special foods like prebiotics, and enhancing the overall biodiversity of your inner ecosystem, you can easily reboot, rebalance, and renew your health. I'll give you all the steps to do that. Along the way, I'll provide step-by-step meal plans, shopping lists, restaurant guides, recipes, recommendations on dietary supplements, stress reduction techniques, exercise programs, and more. The gut microbiome appears to be the mysterious factor that may drive weight gain despite our best efforts. Yet no other program has approached weight loss by rebalancing the gut flora. After seeing the success stories in my clinic, I felt it was time for me to share with the public the program I've been developing for decades. If we take an integrative, whole systems approach to health, healing, and weight management, when we learn to balance our body ecology and think about the species that live within us, we have greater hope for long-term success with weight loss and health outcomes. By remapping your gut ecology, you can shed weight, rejuvenate your health, and feel vibrant. That's what the Gut Balance Revolution and this book are all about. Chapter 1. The Hidden Secret to Weight Loss. Weed, seed, and feed your inner garden. Eat less and exercise more. We've all heard it, from our doctors, on TV, on the internet, in magazines, from friends and family. At one time or another, most of us have even tried it. But let me ask you, how has this recipe for weight loss worked for you? It seems like such a simple formula. It matches our understanding of the physical principles of the universe. Energy in, energy out. What we don't spend, we store. It's common sense. It must be right. There's just one small problem. It doesn't tell the whole story of why people gain weight, and it doesn't tell us how to lose it. The calories in, calories out theory of weight loss is outdated. Modern science has proven beyond any shadow of doubt that your weight and your health are dependent on much more than how many calories you consume. You'll learn about some of this evolving science in this book. However, common sense and personal experience tell us that if weight and health were all about the amount of calories you consume each day, you could eat 1,800 calories of Oreos and Diet Coke and stay fit and healthy. But of course, we all know that doesn't work. The food you eat has a far greater influence on your body than solely the amount of energy it provides. It has wide-ranging effects on numerous biochemical and physiological processes. While it's true that most of us could afford to eat a little less, and reducing total caloric intake is necessary to a certain point to incur weight loss, the quality of the calories you consume is far more important in the long run. That's especially true if you want to burn fat and keep it off for good. Anyone can go on a starvation diet, burn out the treadmill, and drop a few pounds. You might even lose a couple of pant sizes or notice that you look a little better in your bathing suit. But the sad reality is that most of the pounds you drop will be water weight, and some fat-burning muscle to boot. Without altering your lifestyle and eating habits, revisiting your relationship to food, and systematically enhancing the overall quality of the calories you consume, your diet is doomed to fail in the long run. In fact, research has shown that the vast majority of calorie-restricted diets fail long-term. A study conducted at the University of California in Los Angeles showed that people who go on calorie-restricted diets typically lose 5 to 10% of their body weight within 6 months, but regain everything they've lost within 4 to 5 years. And this yo-yo effect causes downstream biological complications that make it even more difficult to lose weight in the long run. Your body is a complex ecosystem. Actually, an ecosystem within an ecosystem, as we'll see shortly. And all complex biological systems have mechanisms in place to maintain homeostasis. The dictionary defines homeostasis as the maintenance of relatively stable internal physiological conditions, as body temperature or the pH of blood, in higher animals under fluctuating environmental conditions. It's easy to see why this is important. If you didn't have a built-in biological mechanism for maintaining basic physiological processes such as body heat, survival would be far more complicated. What does this have to do with weight? Well, the rate of your metabolism and the amount of fat you carry are tightly regulated by a complex array of homeostatic internal processes. Some doctors call this internal thermostat your body weight set point, and it's influenced by a number of factors such as hormones, neurotransmitters, intestinal peptides, your gut microbiome, and more. Several studies have shown that your body weight set point remains fairly constant, maintaining your body weight in a stable range despite minor changes in energy intake, calories in, and expenditure, calories out. It's also been shown that your body is very efficient at holding on to weight during periods of caloric deprivation. That's because your body's set point has shifted downward and is telling your body that your metabolism needs to be slowed to minimize weight loss during periods of caloric deprivation. This provides a clear survival advantage, but demonstrates how low-calorie diets that are based solely upon energy deprivation have short-term efficacy as the new set point limits one's weight loss. Your body weight set point will also try to keep you from gaining weight when you eat too much by burning more calories, but this effect is short-lived. Overall, it's harder to lose weight than it is to gain weight, an experience many of us are all too familiar with. Yo-yo dieting is a very common result of weight loss programs and causes one to ultimately weigh more. Yo-yo dieting has been shown to raise the body's set point, which is your brain telling your body, hey, we ought to now weigh more to reach this new equilibrium, and sending control signals throughout your body to slow metabolism so you gain body weight and fat mass, the new normal. Thus, you weigh more than before with each failed energy deficit diet program, and it becomes harder and harder to lose weight as the set point is raised each time a weight loss regimen fails. To effectively lose weight and keep it off, you need to strategically alter your body weight set point. Emerging evidence suggests that bariatric surgery, particularly gastric bypass, may work in part by helping the body to establish a new set point by altering the physiology governing body weight. And that's the real problem with yo-yo dieting. Every time your weight rebounds.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?